Hi, I'm Carly Sroziak from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and I was wondering how you felt about Sarah Palin's resignation and where you see her political career going from here.
Well, the resignation made perfect sense. I watched the speech, and it was, she explained it. She is basically, she can neither respond to her admirers nor her detractors with her hands tied behind her back as a governor. She has these endless ethics complaints being filed against her, which is a specialty of the left. Probably every right-winger you know is constantly defending himself against completely frivolous ethics charges, complaints with government agencies. The point is to tie your hands, waste your time. Well, they could do it endlessly to Sarah Palin, and she couldn't go out and write a book and make money so that she could at least pay the lawyers to deal with it. She had $500,000 in debt. The lieutenant governor was a total right-winger. The voters of Alaska supported her decision. She's left them in good hands, and now she can go out and, you know, give GE tours like Reagan. I mean, not literally GE tours, but speak and write. So I think she's fabulous. I think she has an innate political talent that I haven't seen since Reagan. She obviously needs to do some work, and my impression is, I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens. I love her. I wrote the Human Events Conservative of the Year. I wrote a write-up for her in Time magazine as one of the most influential people. I'm a big fan. I suspect that despite our most ardent desires, I think she may not want to run. I think she may just want to, you know, take a break for a bit. And she's young enough, she can run in 20 years.
Thank you so much.
Victor Sledge, Penn State University. First of all, just thank you so much for being here. I can't imagine a much better way to wrap up a week like this and with someone so important to the conservative movement as yourself.
Thank you.
And my question is, there's no doubt you have your enemies and those who try to disrupt your appearances and cut down your message whenever you speak. How do you put that to the side and continue to do what you do?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. I mean, don't make me out to be a martyr. There is not much more fun than idiot liberals on college campuses. And as I wrote 2 books back, also a fine book, by the way, which was, let's see, if Democrats had any brains, they'd be Republicans. The first part of that book, I described college speeches and something that was sort of contrary to my expectation, which is at the very good schools, you know, the Ivy Leagues and the equivalent, and the Southern schools, even if the audience was against me, they would politely listen to the speech, and then they'd challenge me during question and answer period. What was somewhat surprising is that it's the Bush League schools, and the more Bush League they are, the more violent they are, because they can't formulate a question. I mean, they're bright kids at all these schools. They're, you know, I meet them, they're in the college Republicans. But you know, you're dealing with a lot of people who probably shouldn't be in college at all, and they're being ginned up by by professors who probably shouldn't be in college at all, the Ward Churchills of the world. I mean, as silly as Henry Louis Gates is, he's a lot smarter than Ward Churchill. I promise you, Ward Churchill will not get a job teaching at Harvard. And so you have the idiots led by the idiots. And when a conservative comes on campus, they spend weeks thinking of a question, and all they can think of is, "You're a fascist." So that isn't so much fun. But argument, I just spoke at Columbia, I don't know, a few months ago, and the liberals were fantastic. They were so polite, they thanked me for speaking, and then they'd try to come up with clever arguments, because they're bright kids. And that's always lots and lots of fun.
Thank you.
Hi, Will Campbell, Juniata College. Things aren't going too well in Afghanistan for our troops, and I was just wondering if you could touch on that a little bit about what you think the current administration should do in Afghanistan.
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because it allows me to make an important point. I mean, in some ways, the problem with Obama isn't just that he's a liberal president, it's that he's a politically correct president. And why are we increasing troops in Afghanistan rather than Iraq, or just spending, or not even increasing troops in Iraq, but keeping the war focus in Iraq? Iraq is good for us. That's a good terrain for us. What the crazies running across the border, turning Iraq into the main action site is good for America. Afghanistan, not such a good battlefield for us. So why was Obama's pledge during the campaign, we're instantly pulling out of Iraq and we're moving into Afghanistan? I mean, it doesn't make any sense from a military standpoint, but it does make sense if, well, I have to please these crazies in my base who are insisting we pull out of Iraq and have kind of forgotten about Afghanistan. So I do know we have to fight the war someplace, but I don't think it's the best strategy to be moving from a country that's good for us militarily to a country that's very difficult for us militarily. I mean, God bless the troops, and they'll do a great job, I'm sure, but why not give them the better battlefield? Well, that's political correctness dictating. And like Johnson going to war in Vietnam, escalating the troops because he didn't want Democrats to be seen as weak on national security. That isn't a good reason to fight a war.
Thank you.
Hi, Ms. Coulter. I'm Casey Cooper from the University of Central Florida in Orlando. When I was in the Orlando airport waiting for my plane, I was rereading your book, Godless, and the woman next to me looks at me, she's like, and whispers, you know, if you're conservative and you're young, you have no heart. And the first thing that came to my mind, I said to her, I was like, well, as a conservative, I've never promoted genocide among unborn children, and I don't promote population control. And so, what I want to ask you...
Are you sure she was a liberal and wasn't just being sarcastic?
No.
Because I have
She had a Greenpeace sweater.
I fly a lot. She had a what?
She had a Greenpeace sweater on.
Huh.
So...
I fly a lot, and airports are like book signings for me. Because you don't get the George Soroses, who are all on their private planes, John Corzine, you know, Bloomberg, all the liberals, Wall Street, you know, because we're the party of the rich. I don't run into them, and obviously I don't run into, you know, the homeless brigades being brought in by Acorn. They're not flying anyplace. Mm-hmm. You run into people often with jobs and families, and that's very good for me.
Well, what my question was is, as a young conservative, what could we do to maybe become a writer like you that really provokes thought? Because some of your books are what really made me want to be more involved in the conservative movement. And as per request of Patrick Coyle, what's your opinion on law school?
Ah, thank you, Patrick. Do not go to law school. Encourage liberals to go to law school. It is a total waste. I mean, unless you're going to be a scumbag trial lawyer like John Edwards, you're not even going to make that much money because it's all tied to billable hours. We have way too many lawyers. They cause way too much trouble, unless you really want to practice law. That's the one caveat I'll throw in, because I must say 90% of the college students I meet don't want to practice law. They all say, oh, just go to law school, you know, expand my options, won't really limit them, and I don't know what else to do. There are a lot of jobs out there. I've asked all of my most successful friends in their 30s and 40s, did you know this was what you were going to be doing when you graduated from college? And they all said, I didn't even know this job existed. So just because you're afraid and you don't know what to do when you graduate from college, don't make the mistake of going to law school. Right. And what was the first one? Oh, what?
How can we become a writer like you?
Well, well, I went to law school. And then we had a felon in the Oval Office, so it all worked out. I must say I would really prefer to encourage you to run for office, to go make money somehow. Making money is always good, so just, you know, get kicked around, find out what you're good at, make money. But, you know, I was just talking about this with the editors of Human Events last night. We had dinner. And the peculiar thing about the conservatives or conservative movement, conservatives in America right now, is we clearly have the best talkers, the best TV people, the best writers, the movement, the best, you know, conservative organizations like YAF and Claire Booth Luce. We're a little shy on our top-notch politicians. I think we could really bulk up that area a little more. I mean, I wouldn't want to run for office, but if any of you think you have the slightest desire to run for office, I so wish you would.
All right, thank you.